The future direction of the PGA Tour is once again under intense scrutiny, and much of the attention now centers on the early signals coming from its new leadership and how key players are responding. Over the past 3 years, professional golf has experienced one of the most turbulent stretches in its modern history, largely driven by the emergence of LIV Golf and its financial backing from the public investment fund. That disruption forced the PGA Tour to rethink nearly every aspect of its structure, from prize money and event formats to media strategy and long-term competitive positioning. Amid that uncertainty, the appointment of Brian Rolopp as CEO marked a pivotal moment. Rolopp, who previously served as Executive Vice President of Media and Business Operations for the National Football League, arrived with a reputation for navigating complex sports ecosystems and negotiating high-value broadcast partnerships. His background made him an intriguing choice to guide the tour through a period where media value, fan engagement, and global competition are all rapidly evolving. Speaking to reporters ahead of the Players' Championship at TPC, Rolopp delivered his most detailed public remarks so far about the strategic direction being explored within the tour. While he stopped short of announcing concrete policies or he outlined several areas where structural change is actively being considered, including schedule adjustments, potential evolution of competitive formats, and broader efforts to make the tour's product more compelling for both players and fans in an increasingly fragmented golf landscape. His language was deliberate and measured, reflecting the delicate balance required when multiple stakeholders, sponsors, media partners, and global investors have competing visions for the sport's future. Yet the underlying message was clear: the status quo is unlikely to remain intact. What amplified the significance of these comments was the immediate public support from Rory McIlroy, one of the tour's most influential voices during the ongoing upheaval. McIlroy revealed that he had already spoken with Rolopp earlier in the week, and that the new CEO had personally walked him through the themes he planned to discuss with the media. That level of direct coordination suggests a strategic alignment between leadership and one of the sport's most visible players, something that has not always existed during recent controversies surrounding professional golf's future. McIlroy's endorsement carries particular weight because he has been deeply involved in shaping player perspectives throughout the rivalry between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf, often acting as an unofficial spokesperson for the tour's traditional structure. His backing signals that Rolopp's vision may have early support among influential players who will ultimately determine whether proposed changes gain traction. For fans and analysts alike, the conversation now extends beyond simple policy tweaks. It raises broader questions about how professional golf will evolve in a world where media consumption habits, global investment, and competitive formats are all shifting simultaneously. The coming months will likely determine whether these discussions translate into tangible reforms that reshape scheduling, broadcast presentation, and competitive structures. What Rolopp revealed this week may only be the beginning, but it indicates that the PGA Tour is preparing for meaningful transformation rather than incremental adjustment, and the early support from Rory McIlroy suggests that the players most capable of influencing the tour's direction may already be aligned with that vision. Rory McIlroy offered strong and unusually direct support for the direction being outlined by new PGA Tour CEO Brian Rolopp, describing it as a really good direction for where the tour should be heading. Because McIlroy previously served on the tour's policy board and has been deeply involved in many of the sport's recent internal discussions, his endorsement carries far more significance than a routine show of support for new leadership. He understands the political dynamics inside the PGA Tour, how player interests, sponsor expectations, broadcast agreements, and tournament commitments all intersect, and his comments suggest that the ideas Rolopp is exploring are aligned with the perspectives of several influential players rather than being imposed solely from the executive level. At the same time, McIlroy was candid about the scale of the challenge Rolopp faces, noting that once he stepped into the job he likely realized just how difficult it is to turn this big ship around, especially in an organization where there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen and many competing opinions. That remark highlights the reality that the PGA Tour operates as a member-driven structure rather than a traditional top-down sports league, meaning major structural changes require balancing numerous stakeholders and navigating complex internal debates. The fact that Rolopp is still pushing forward with discussions about significant adjustments suggests he has been given a real mandate to modernize the tour rather than simply preserve the existing system. McIlroy's public backing also indicates that many top players recognize that change is necessary after the disruption caused by LIV Golf and the broader uncertainty surrounding the future of professional golf. His support therefore signals not just approval of Rolopp's ideas, but a growing alignment between leadership and the players who ultimately shape the tour's competitive product, suggesting that meaningful reforms to scheduling formats and overall tour structure may be closer than they appear. Brian Rolopp did not reveal specific proposals, but the themes he discussed suggest meaningful change may be coming to the PGA Tour. One major area under consideration is the tour schedule, which could potentially mean fewer events, more strategic breaks in the calendar, or a structure that better aligns with major championships and global competitions. Competitive format adjustments are also being explored, possibly involving different tournament structures, modified field sizes, or qualification systems that reward consistent performance throughout the season. The motivation behind these discussions is the growing recognition that professional golf's overall product must evolve. Television ratings have been uneven, and many casual fans struggle to follow a schedule with more than 40 tournaments spread across the year, while younger audiences who are accustomed to fast-paced sporting formats often find golf slower, multi-day competitions harder to engage with. Roll-Up's experience with the National Football League is especially relevant because the NFL has perfected the model of creating weekly drama within a tightly structured season. While golf cannot replicate football's format exactly, ideas like schedule compression, clearer stakes during the regular season, and a stronger narrative leading toward playoff-style moments could help make the tour more compelling. What makes the situation even more notable is that Rory McIlroy publicly backed Roll-Up's direction while dealing with a lingering back injury that left him uncertain about defending his title. At the Players' Championship, despite focusing on his own preparation, McIlroy still took time to speak with Roll-Up and voice his support, signaling how important he believes this leadership moment is for the tour's future. The timing also reflects a broader effort to rebuild trust between players and leadership after tensions created by the rise of LIV golf and negotiations involving the public investment fund. Some players previously felt excluded from key decisions, but Roll-Up appears to be prioritizing direct communication with influential figures like McIlroy before announcing major reforms. That strategy is critical because the PGA Tour operates as a member-driven organization where players hold real influence through policy, board representation, and voting power, meaning any significant structural transformation will only succeed if the athletes themselves support the vision. If leading players push back against the proposed changes, it will be extremely difficult to move them forward. By publicly supporting the idea early, Rory McIlroy is sending a message to other players that one of the tour's most respected voices believes the new direction makes sense. Believes the new direction makes sense. What happens next depends on how quickly the tour's new leadership, including CEO Brian Roll-Up, can turn broad discussions into clear proposals that players can review and vote on. The history of the PGA Tour shows many ideas being talked about for a long time, but never actually happening because it's hard to get everyone to agree. Roll-Up's real challenge is turning his vision into practical policies that can pass through the complicated process required to change the tour's structure. Rory's comments suggest he believes Roll-Up has the ability and authority to handle that challenge. But another moment this week is something fans will remember for a long time. What really happened on the 11th tee that caused everything to fall apart so suddenly? Why are medical experts calling the timing of this injury one of the toughest blows in golf right now? And did we just witness the moment that could disrupt Collin Morikawa's entire 2026 season? The timing makes the situation especially painful. Morikawa arrived at the Players' Championship playing some of the best golf on tour. Just last month he captured his 7th career tour win at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and he followed that strong performance with top 10 finishes at both the Genesis Invitational, and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. His ball striking was extremely sharp, and his confidence was at a very high level. Heading into the Players' Championship, often called golf's unofficial fifth major, Collin Morikawa was considered one of the top favorites along with Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. This event at TPC Sawgrass is the flagship tournament of the PGA Tour, offering a massive $25 million purse and a level of prestige that rivals the major championships. It was the type of tournament that could define a player's entire season and strengthen their legacy among the best in the sport. Morikawa came in with strong momentum, great form, and high expectations for a big week. But after playing only one hole, everything suddenly changed in the worst possible way. Thursday morning began normally for Morikawa as he started his round on the back nine at the par 4 10th hole. The weather was ideal, the crowd was excited, and he appeared calm and ready. He played the 10th smoothly and made a routine par, looking fully focused. Nothing seemed unusual, and there was no sign of trouble. Then he walked to the 11th tee, a par 5 known as one of the best scoring chances on the course, where players often look for birdie or even eagle to build momentum early in the round. Within about 10 seconds, everything changed. Morikawa took a normal practice swing, a motion he has repeated thousands of times during his professional career, but during that swing, something suddenly went wrong with his back. His reaction said it all. He immediately stopped, reached for his lower back with his right hand, and the pain on his face was clear even to spectators watching from behind the tee. If you were surprised by this painful moment, make sure to like and subscribe because what followed was even more difficult to watch. Collin Morikawa didn't even try to hit his tee shot. He didn't attempt to stretch or see if he could keep playing. It was clear right away that something was seriously wrong. He walked directly to a nearby golf cart, took off his hat, and placed both hands on his head. looking like he was trying to manage the pain while also processing what had just happened. His caddy stood close by, clearly shocked, and within minutes, tournament officials and medical staff arrived to check on him. The decision for him to withdraw happened very quickly. Morikawa was driven off the course, ending his run at the Players' Championship after playing just one hole at TPC Sugg. The expression on his face as he left the course has already spread widely across social media. This was not a player simply choosing to play it safe. It looked like a moment where his body failed him at the worst possible time. On one of the biggest stages in golf, when everything seems set for a great week, the issue is being described as a back injury. Although exact details about the severity, the precise area affected, and how long recovery might take have not yet been shared. The fact that it happened during a routine practice swing rather than during the power of a full shot suggests it could be a serious problem, possibly involving muscle strain, a disc issue, or pressure on a nerve. All of these possibilities could keep Collin Morikawa away from competition for weeks or even months depending on how serious the injury is. What makes the situation especially painful is the point he had reached in his season. This wasn't a player struggling to find his game. Morikawa, a two-time major champion, was playing some of his best golf of the year and building strong momentum heading toward the Masters tournament in April, with hopes of making 2026 a huge season. In a single practice swing, that progress suddenly vanished. His recent win at AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am and the top 10 finishes at the Genesis Invitational and Arnold Palmer Invitational now feel far less important if he cannot compete. Everything he built over the past 2 months disappeared in one painful moment. Fellow players across the PGA Tour quickly shared supportive messages online, expressing concern and wishing him a fast recovery. At the same time, those reactions also showed how unsettling the moment was for many of them. Professional golfers understand how fragile the body can be and how quickly an injury can change everything. And seeing it happen to someone else reminds them it could happen to them too. Scottie Scheffler, who started his round not long after Morikawa withdrew from the Players' Championship at TPC Sugg, spoke about it after finishing his round, saying it was very tough to watch because everyone knows how much effort goes into reaching the level of form Morikawa had built.